No, but this actually rolls in, I think, fairly well to the final thing I wanted to talk about with you, which is what your plans are for going forward. Legal challenges. Obviously, the bump stock ban has now been blocked by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and I think that ruling is going to have a very significant impact on legal challenges to this pistol brace rule. Mm-hmm. So where are you at on that? What's going on the legal front?
I mean, there's several different things that are happening. I hate to get into the specifics because I know the ATF watches these things, and I know that they want to find a way to understand what some of our strategy is. But, I guess the 30,000 foot view is there's a lot of things. So FRAC is a nonprofit organization that SP Tactical and several other companies work with. A lot more after the show, a lot more people have joined, but that is the vehicle that we will be using to fight the ATF. And what FRAC stands for is the Firearms Regulatory Accountability Coalition. And essentially what that says is that it's a group of companies. It's a nonprofit that represents a group of companies in the industry. It doesn't represent, Joe Smith. It represents the companies in the industry. And all that FRAC really wants to do is to make sure that ATF is held accountable. ATF, DOJ, governmental agencies that regulate our industry are held accountable to essentially do their jobs and not be political about it. And the way to do that is to attack through the APA, which is the American Procedures Act. The way to do that is to lobby through a lot of the connections that we have. But essentially what FRAC is doing is going to respond. Okay, so we will have a response from FRAC, I think, within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Everybody's like, oh, you need to respond tomorrow. That's not the way FRAC works. I think we're going to leave that up to groups that do that better than us, which is FPC, GOA, Second Amendment Foundation, NAGR. There's a whole bunch of groups out there that represent gun owners. And
they already have some cases going on this.
So, I don't remember. Well. I don't want to say it wrong, but I know there's a group coming out. I believe it's GOA, but if I get that wrong, forgive me. That's going to come out with something probably in the Fifth Circuit. And they're going to piggyback off of what the Fifth Circuit argued, which for people who don't know, in 15 seconds or less, essentially what the Fifth Circuit said was, if a regulation has criminal statutes and it's ambiguous, the rule of lenity applies. If the rule of lenity applies, then that regulation can't be had. It needs to be tossed out. And that's exactly what happened. Essentially, bump stock, they came up with this new rule. There's criminal implications and serious ones because it means you're owning a machine gun. Well, you can't just do that. Okay. You can't decide. An agency cannot make law. They can regulate, but they can't make law. And if there's criminal implications, then it's different. At any rate.
Yeah, they ruled that it went, the ATF went beyond its authority in reclassifying bump stocks as machine guns because it didn't comport with what the actual NFA law says a machine gun is. Mm-hmm. And then also that they'd been, their rulings had been contradictory and vague and confusing, and therefore the rule of lenity applies. And so it seems pretty straightforward that those same arguments would apply to the pistol brace rule. It's actually it goes further to the point of politicization that the ATF, 1 week after this ruling came down, decided to go forward with publishing this rule anyway. Given that it clearly is implicated by what happened in that case.
That's the crazy part to me. Yeah. That's really I thought that it's funny. We have lots of attorneys, but we were expecting them to come out with it, but we were expecting them to come out with it and say that something along the lines that the Fifth Circuit is different than what we're doing here. Like that's what we were expecting.
Which they didn't.
No, they didn't. So, I mean, there's a lot so just to kind of get back to what we were talking about in terms of strategy, I mean, one of the biggest issues here is really understanding, and we were talking about, the ruling itself, and I'm looking off camera because I have this rule in front of me. Just the other day, you want to talk about the implications, and we were talking about the numbers that ATF came up with, and we're saying that they're soft on the numbers. Well, they have their impact study okay, which talks about, the financial impact. And then obviously they're saying that it's more than $100 million, but we picked this one part out, and forgive me, it's a paragraph. I'm going to read it to you, Stephen, and it's talking about the cost to turn firearms with attached stabilizing braces into ATF. Okay, so what they're suggesting is that some people will decide to turn in their firearms. Some people will try to remove the brace, but again, just removing the brace doesn't take you out of the whole SBR thing. But essentially, there's a glitch that we found, and it's not the glitch that some people were talking about yesterday, which was, oh well, if you submit it and within 88 days they don't approve it, then it's an automatic, denial. And if it's a denial, then you're in possession of an unregistered short-barreled rifle. And the ATF will come out and say, oh, well, don't worry about that. We're going to use discretion. That's their term. We're going to use discretion. And while they did talk about discretion for certain things in this 293-page ruling, they didn't talk about discretion for this thing. And what they say, and I'm going to quote it, is it says, public comment suggests that the loss of the firearm should be included in the analysis. ATF concurs that there may be a small number of individuals or FFLs that choose to turn in their whole firearms to ATF. These may include individuals who imported pistols, okay? That's important, and who may end up losing the value of their firearm if the firearm is a semi-automatic rifle. Now, that might not make a lot of sense. I'm going to explain it. This is due to the restriction of 18 U.S.C. 922R. People will think, well, is that 922R compliance? It is, which makes it unlawful for any person to assemble from imported parts any semi-automatic rifle, which is identical to any rifle that is prohibited from importation because it's non-sporting. What does that mean? Because there's a lot of legal jumble in there, but I'll boil it down for you. Anybody who owns or imported a pistol who also has its counterpart as a rifle will not have the ability to do any of the 5 things that ATF told you that you can do. Their only choice will be to destroy the firearm. Think all the B&T guns. Think all the Century Draco pistols. Think all of the MP5 variants. None of those firearms can be made 922R compliant because they cannot live as rifles. So the implication is that all of those firearms will have to be destroyed. And they're saying it in this document. It's hidden in there. It's hidden in this little blip here that you could probably see I highlighted, but it's there. And to me, that in and of itself is insane. Think about all the people that are going to have, we're not talking about your, some beat up AR-15 that you built in your garage, with some cheap lower. We're talking about $3,000 firearms, and all of them have to be destroyed. There is no other way to comply with what the ATF is saying. And the ATF said, well, we may use our discretion. Sorry, but bullshit. Unless you write that in this document, that you're actually going to use discretion and you're not going to uphold the law the way it's written in 922R, 18 U.S.C. 922R, all of those people who own those types of guns, and I know you have a few of those too, you won't be able to do anything with that other than destroy it.